Welcome to the InStory Show. I'm Devorah Spilman, your host. Our theme is what does it mean to expand into a new story? And how do you come out of hiding and dare to be seen for who you really are by saying yes to your soul and telling your story? Today, I am thrilled to welcome InStory expert Nina Ashraff. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Devorah. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure. And I'm going to read about you and then we'll dive in. Nina is an intuitive medical doctor and an eye surgeon for over 25 years who has a holistic approach to her practice. She grew up around meditation, yoga, and spiritual practices and continues to expand on these. Nina is passionate about listening to the soul and living in alignment with our true selves. She feels that reconnecting with our soul self and living an aligned life leads to more balance and well-being. Nina values the practices of breathing and meditation, silence, and space to reconnect with the soul. She currently lives in New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud. All right, so I'm going to ask you what I ask everybody, which is what does it mean to you to expand into a new story? And because this is an in-story interview and we demonstrate that there are more than one way, there's more than one way to do something, Nina wrote something really beautiful, and I asked her if she would actually read it, which seems unusual. And a lot of times people say, but I can't read something like, yes, you can. So maybe just read what you wrote first, and you can always say more, but read what you wrote because sometimes the things we write are beautiful and we should just read them.
Yeah, thank you. Um, expanding, so for me, expanding into a new story is expanding consciousness, finding my center and listening to my inner knowing, my soul self, and truly being. Each time, this becomes a new story, a new version of myself that is expanding into more love, peace, acceptance, appreciation, and being more in the flow, aligned, trusting that all is as it is meant to be. Allowing myself to move and expand into the next chapter of my story with curiosity and openness.
And how does that compare to the way you have to be when you're an eye doctor?
I suppose that is a little bit more structured. And even though I do always feel like I am being my authentic self, sometimes things are not appropriate to be open about in that setting. But I definitely do feel a lot of compassion and patience and self-trust and trust in others when I am seeing people one-on-one. And hopefully that opens up the energy in the room for people to feel comfortable when they're seeing me for eye things. Um,
Right.
yeah, so I still feel like I can do this, but it's definitely a little bit more probably, structured and yeah, not I'm not able to be as open about it probably
Right.
in that kind of working environment, which is that's what's suitable for that kind of thing. But I do feel like people are they do pick up on that openness, so they are willing to like talk about other things, and then we that's where the holistic nature of my work I think comes from.
Right. And all right. So, but that leads me to asking you what I also like the women in stories to come tell us what I like to call your in-story story, because probably most eye doctors are not doing this more expansive kind of work that you're doing. And what, like, just tell us a little bit about your story with joining in story and committing to doing this more soul-oriented work.
Hmm. Well, I did do the in-story course initially, over a year ago that was, and I really enjoyed it, connecting with a group of women, and sharing our stories and just connecting over a few weeks, 8 weeks, I think it was together,
Oh, you
and
mean you
then doing
started,
a,
you mean you're talking about the soul story course?
sorry, the soul story course, yes.
Right, right, right.
And so after doing that, the option was to join the in-story year-long course. And, working, having children, I kind of thought, oh, there's no way I can commit to a whole year. 8 weeks was great though, and I kind of carried on having a few one-on-ones with you, Devorah, and that just kept opening me up. And every time I met, I could just go within, and I was giving myself that kind of time and space that otherwise life just kind of takes over. So I felt like it was quite healing in some way, and it was like a nourishment. So when I joined the year-long course, InStory year-long show, the InStory, oh, is it the
Right.
InStory, the year-long one? Um, Oh, just connecting with other people. Some of your administrators was still in that, but otherwise it was new people, and it just allowed me to slowly kind of feel more comfortable with expressing myself. Because even though I do that on a day-to-day basis with people, it's not really about me. It's about helping others, which I love to do. So when it came to actually talking about what I'd experienced in a guided process. I kind of felt a bit like, oh, should I say all this? But when everybody is sharing and there's so much respect and people hold space, and I enjoyed holding space for others, and then giving feedback that is just what comes to us. Yeah, it's just such a lovely environment, and it really nourishes the soul, and allows it to be seen for what it is. So we're all seen for who we are and accepted for who we are, and yeah, it's very much a healing, a weekly healing actually, which I just after a year I didn't feel like I wanted to stop, so I carried on. This is my second year, and I'm loving it.
It's I don't talk about it so often, but it's true that it is a very healing process. And maybe you can say a little bit more about the healing quality and where that's led you in your own work.
Yeah. Um, I suppose just being more accepting of myself and open to just being who I am without having to kind of hide or just put on a different role. Um, it's kind of more encompassing with my daily life as I've done this more and more. And it's allowed me, I mean, I'm definitely just more curious about things rather than just, and a bit more space to kind of think, okay, well, why is that happening? So more introspection, just knowing myself better
Mhm.
and better. And listening to others allows me to learn more about what other people are going through as well, which is always something that I'm passionate about as well, just being holding space for others. So I think in my daily life, it's definitely helped with my work as well, listening to people, not just
Mhm.
listening to their eye problem, but actually reading between the lines a bit more, which before, even when I did, I didn't say anything. Whereas now I feel like I can be a bit more open, and then if it's received, it's received, and if it isn't, then I will just continue as I am. So, not taking anything personally, and yeah,
Mhm.
definitely just it's expanded my awareness.
Right, right. And so how has this led you into, well, I guess maybe we'll go back to how did it affect you with the first interview? Because this is your second year, so it's your second interview.
Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about what happened for you. It's partly also being an introvert, right? Doing this, like, coming on these interviews when you've never done it before, it's not like, oh yeah, just like talking to anybody in my office. It doesn't feel like that. So maybe talk about the first time you did it and what it was like and what happened to you from it.
Well, again, as you mentioned, even just joining the year long and then having conversations, then I got to know the group and it felt like a safe container. And you always make that such a lovely space for everybody. So I really appreciate what you do, Devorah. Um, but doing the interview, yes, it was fine when I was thinking about doing it, but when I actually then thought further and thought, well, this is going out to so many people who may not be aligned, and there's all these kind of usual kind of fear of, well, maybe it's not interesting for anyone else to hear, or why would anyone want to listen to this? Um, but as I enjoyed listening to other people's stories, even if they didn't fully relate to me, I just enjoyed listening to it, and you can always get something from it. When I did the meditation, it was returning to self. I just felt it. I was when it was in the flow, and I just did what felt right to me. And then when I put it out there, that was it. I did the work and then let it be. And if
Mhm.
it aligns with anybody and it can be helpful or of interest to anyone, then that's great. And if not, that's also great because it actually was a process for me. It kind of transformed me um, into the next stage. It's almost like that was one expansion of my story. I
Mhm.
expanded into a new Nina. After doing that, I just did, it felt like a different person after doing that. Yeah, definitely. Even though, like we talked about before, I speak to people, I've done lectures and things like that in the past, but this was different because it was quite, it always feels a bit more personal.
Right,
Uh, and I'm
right,
sharing that with people.
right.
So it's just being brave and kind of almost having that, not worrying about too much, worrying less as I'm getting older. It doesn't
Right.
matter what anyone else thinks.
Worry less is always a good idea
Yeah.
in general. And it's true when you do it, someone once said to me, I didn't suck. I was like, seriously, it's like you're not sure if what you're doing is good. You have to try. You have to start out and then people give you feedback. I loved when you did this. I really felt this when you did this. You get a feedback to rewire that old feeling that goes, I don't know if this is any good because you're trying something new, right? And so it opened you up and led you into some new work. So maybe talk about where it's led you in the whole area of either meditation or breath work or how it's led you to developing practices that you didn't have before.
I suppose with the guided processes, that was the regular of going within, which I really felt aligned with doing, and it felt like I really wanted to do more of that. I had done some meditation previously, and I grew up around sort of spiritual practices, I suppose, with ritual and yoga. Not that I did a lot myself, but my mother did a lot of that. And she did meditation regularly, and I suppose I just kind of felt connected to that. Maybe it was just a phase of getting to a certain age as well, but also doing this year-long InStory way. I think it just led me to that regularity of it. So um, I I expanded into doing some breath work training and one that aligned with me because initially I was a little bit like, oh, all this breath work, yes, it's great. I know it's physiologically wonderful, but I never did it. I just carried on, meditated as I do. But when I did this breath work, um, it was a Sudarshan Kriya breathing yoga meditation, and it's basically I wrote down exactly the Sudarshan is proper vision, and Kriya means purification. So it's purification through the breath to allow clear vision. And it really did impact. As soon as I did it, my mind just felt spacious. I wasn't going around thinking about 15 different things. It was almost like more powerful than the actual meditation that I was doing for me at that time. So I just decided, well, that's something that is powerful for me, and therefore I want to progress with that. So doing that continuously, at least once a day in the morning, if possible, but sometimes I would do it in the evening because of all the other health benefits as well. I mean, obviously, being a doctor, I'm always thinking about what can be helpful. And interestingly, the advice to a lot of patients with stress management is actually breathing, meditation. But when you talk about meditation, I think a lot of people just not are not sure what to do, or some people who are not comfortable sitting for that long, or there's different types of meditation, obviously, but the breathing, everybody can do it. It's free. We do it automatically, but the beauty is we can also consciously put it into pattern so that it can affect our bodies. For example, when we're stressed, we breathe a bit more quickly. Our body automatically does that. So if we want to de-stress, how do we do that? We can slow down our breath, especially the exhale. We can stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve, the relax and digest and rest, rather than the fight or flight. So to do this as a practice on a daily basis in the middle of the day, if we're anxious about something, we can just use it, as well as if you want to do it as a more regular practice into meditation, that's also another way, but it's just very practical. And I think long term, helping with mental um, clarity, um, connecting to other realms and other states of consciousness, and also physiologically lowering your blood pressure, reducing your stress, probably living a slightly more happy, blissful, joyful life, which is what we're here for in some ways.
So, can do you want to share a couple of your favorite breath work practices with
Yes,
us?
yeah. Okay, so I'll just well, there's a couple. I mean, one of them that I often share with people is the Sitali Pranayama, which is the straw breath. I think for any anxiety in the moment, it's about slowing down the exhale. So you just breathe in and fill the lungs. And then when you breathe out, you're breathing through a narrower passage through your lips as though you're breathing out through a straw. So some people do actually breathe out through a straw, but you could actually do it by just pursing your lips. So sitting up straight, you can close your eyes or you can keep them open if you're in some kind of situation and you just want to just calm down. So then take a deep breath in, and then at the peak of the in breath, slowly, slowly breathe out through pursed lips like you're breathing out through a straw, feeling that pressure against your lips. Right until your lungs feel empty. Then you can just breathe normally. But if you repeat this over a few minutes, it really stimulates that vagus nerve, causes calm, lowers the blood pressure. Um, I mean, if you feel dizzy, if your blood pressure might be a little bit low, then obviously stop. But if you're feeling anxious, usually your blood pressure is a little bit higher. So clearing that. And it also actually really clears and enhances the kind of respiratory, the breathing kind of apparatus, kind of optimizes it. If you do that maybe daily, for a couple of minutes a day, you would feel a difference there. And that's a really good one just in the moment. So the straw breath, breathing
Okay.
in through your nose and then slowly out through your mouth until your lungs feel empty. So it's the slower out breath that stimulates that vagus nerve.
And okay, good. So, do you want to maybe share one more?
Yeah, I mean, alternate nostril breathing is really powerful in balancing the hemispheres of the brain, the right and the left, the creative and the analytical.
Mm,
Um, it's really balances the yin and the yang. It's a great kind of pre-breath work into meditation because it really calms the mind. It causes a lot of clarity, and it also does the other physiological benefits of lowering blood pressure and that almost like brain-heart coherence. Um, so it's a little bit trickier to do, but if you use your right hand and you use your index finger and your middle finger over the bridge of your nose, the thumb would be just resting over the right nostril, and then the little and ring fingers would be resting over the left nostril. Um, so if you close the right nostril first, probably, and then breathe in through the left nostril and then close it and breathe out through the right nostril. This is all through your nose. So in through the right nostril now, close it, and out through the left nostril. And then back in through the left nostril and out through the right. So you're going in, closing, out, and then in through the same nostril, close it, and then out. So it's all through your nose. So it takes a little bit of practice, the alternate nostril breathing, but it's quite a powerful breath. And I remember my mum telling us to do this quite regularly. Not that I really understood why, but it did even if you're just focusing on your breath, you're just aware of your breath. That makes a big difference, even if you're not doing it exactly as it's
Right.
suggested.
But it also really helps you not obsess with whatever you're thinking about because you've got to put your attention on your thumb and your finger and your nose and the breathing and the in and out. And
That's right.
attention is there, right?
It's beneficial, whatever you do.
All right. And it does it does combine a lot of modalities and we tend to lose track, So is there another one that you really like for like getting centered or kind of make it getting more expanded maybe a little bit, or maybe share one
Mm.
more with us.
Yeah, I mean, the Ujjayi breath is also known as the ocean breath. And this is one that is used, you breathe in and out through your nose, but you're almost like narrowing some of the passages so that when you breathe out, it kind of sounds like a soft ocean. You might be saying, like, but with your mouth closed. So it just sounds soft like that. So you're not constricting, but it is relaxed, but you, and so you might practice that a little bit. It sounds like an ocean. Or if you want to yawn and you want to close your mouth, it can sometimes feel like that is just lifted up. So it's internal, but you can hear a sound. And doing that, for example, if you breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hold it for 4, and then you breathe out for 6, and then hold for 2. So it's 8 and 8. So it's in for 4, hold for 4, out for 6, hold for 2. Then the out breath, the exhale is obviously slower. Um, and doing that regularly, um, I might, yeah, sometimes I will do that into the meditation. But doing that gives you some kind of rhythm. And that is quite meditative as well with the brain. So that rhythm of in and out and holding it, and just focusing on the breath can be quite meditative in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into being at one with the universe, universal consciousness, that's the so hum. So sometimes you might say it in your head, but basically so on the in breath and hum on the out breath would be different rates. So you might do slow in, slow out for maybe 20, and then you do it more at a normal pace. So hum for another 20 or 40. And then you might do it slightly quicker, and then you go back to the slow pace. So there's this different patterns of rhythmic breathing that can really help getting to that meditative state. So yeah, definitely the Ujjayi breath, the ocean breath, going into the so hum, different patterns, and then um, yeah, going into meditation. That's just a general thing that can be easily done, and it just makes you, it just allows my mind to stay clearer, and just blend into the meditation much more
Mm-hmm.
naturally, I suppose.
It's weirdly such an obvious thing, but such a good reminder, and we so don't remember to catch ourselves in those distracted, frantic, stressed moments, and just I remember having a few moments on walks where I'm like hearing my higher going guides just going, breathe, breathe. It's not like I'm not breathing, but breathe with consciousness, like because you can breathe yourself into the present moment also, which there's so many teachings, power of now and like but it does bring you out of all the far-reaching, overthinking moments.
It absolutely does. It really is being in the present. And
Yeah.
that is therapeutic in itself.
Yeah, it
Even if
is.
you're
Yeah.
feeling fine, it's just giving
Right.
yourself that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about your free gift because it's going to give us a little bit
Mm.
more support to take this breathing a little deeper and more conscious.
Um, it's I called it the rose. It's guided breathing into kind of heart opening meditation. So, it starts with a little bit of just, I suppose, being mindful of the breath and being aware of the breath, and then following a little bit of guided breathing with the so hum. and also the holding and the breathing out. And that gets us into that state. And then I'll slowly just guide on a short meditation that continues from that. And I called it the rose, and you'll hear when you listen to the meditation why. But inspired by my mother,
Yeah, tell
who
that
gave,
story.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh
because
yeah,
in story, in between shows, we have what I call show and tell, where the women in the group lead or teach a workshop. And so Nina did that. But tell the story of what happened as you were preparing to lead this breath work for us.
oh, that was so. I mean, you literally couldn't have imagined that would have happened. So yeah, I did a little breath work workshop, which I loved, and that was so good to be able to do that. That's another benefit of the in story. You actually get to practice and do things and see how it lands with others. But as I was preparing, I looked at my meditation and breath work courses that I'd done, and at the back of this pink little book, I found this piece of photocopied paper. I was thinking, where did that appear from? I don't remember putting it in that book. And I opened it out, and it was a photocopy of like a yoga page, and it had a little bit of a bit of an affirmation and a bit of a nice passage on the rose, which I'll include as an example, sort of in my meditation. But yeah, as I was doing that, I was thinking, well, my mum gave me this years ago, like over 20 years, probably 20 years ago. I wonder why she gave me it. And it was about heart opening, um, and healthy heart. So it was physical and spiritual, really. Um, and I just thought, wow, this fits perfectly with what I'm going to share at the workshop. And so I did use that. And I think it was pretty powerful. And I don't know whether it was just my mum kind of saying, this is the time to share this with
Your
the
mom's
world.
passed away, right? Is your mom still
Yeah,
alive? How
she's
long ago
passed.
did she
Yeah.
pass away?
Probably about 8 years ago now.
Right. And all
Yeah.
the time you've never seen this paper in your notebook,
No.
right?
No. So obviously I was meant to find it at that time, I believe anyway. And I wanted to share it with everyone who's signed up to this in story show as well. So that's why I've kind of used it as uh yeah, in my meditation.
Right,
So
because her name
hopefully
was called the
everyone can
Rose,
enjoy it.
right?
Yeah. Well, it was about a rose, so I called it the rose. Yeah, and a pink rose. She loved pink roses. She used to have a lot of pink roses, and the smell as well. I mean, you can even smell it when well, yeah. Hopefully, you'll enjoy listening to it, and it will be of interest. But yeah, it just was very much meant to be at that time, and I felt I wanted to share it more widely because it is powerful. Yeah.
Right, right. And it's just those moments are so striking me. I'm always saying we have to listen to this other realm. And here your mother managed to somehow communicate from the other realm something to give over to you.
Exactly. I mean, how can that happen? It just makes it definitely, you can't argue with that.
No, I know.
There's no proof, but there is proof.
I know. It's such a beautiful moment. So, all right, well, leave us with a couple of last thoughts before we wrap up.
Um, Enjoy every moment, and summits like this, just make the most of listening to what you feel drawn to listen to, and just pick and choose, and yeah, just connecting with the energy of the speakers, of Devorah, and of the other people who are actually who've registered for this. All that interconnected energy, it just is, I feel, quite uplifting. Um, and yeah, just if you can give yourself some time on a regular basis, I feel that that is so amazing for spiritual practice and for expanding consciousness and the benefits of our physical and mental health as well, long term, which is, you can't get much better than that.
Right. It's so true. It's come up in a lot of conversations, both in the live group ones and the one-on-one, about how much we need regular practices. Like we need these these breathing, meditation, nature, connection. Like we need these expanded consciousness practices. So get Nina's free gift. It will give you such a nice, deep way to find this quietness, this stillness, this heart-centered connection that you can put in any part of your life. You don't need 5 hours. You just need a few minutes. And from a busy eye doctor, you trust her. She can give you something that will help you in the midst of whatever is going on. So thank you so much, Nina, and for trusting yourself and for, doing the work to go into this place and have the courage to share it with us. So
Thank you, Devorah. I mean, it's literally life-changing in a very subtle, calm, nurturing way. So thank you so much for all that you're doing and for doing these summits and for the all the InStory and courses and ways that you do. So thank you. It's amazing. Really appreciate it.
all right, you're all invited to say yes to your soul. And as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, folks.